One for all for one. You've probably heard of the wise words often quoted in rugby. I first heard them at a wedding. My name's Aria, 30 years old. My husband Oliver is 32. Oliver and I met for a club rugby team at our company. I was the team manager, and Oliver was a player. I first met Oliver's sister, Scarlett, back when Oliver and I were just dating, about 4 years ago. Even though it was a company team, family members often came to watch our games and joined us for the celebrations afterward. It was at one such celebration where Oliver introduced me to Scarlett. "This is my sister, Scarlett." Scarlett said to me, "Nice to meet you. Oliver has told me so much about you." But her gaze seemed to scrutinize me from head to toe. "Nice to meet you too. I look forward to getting to know you," I replied energetically. Oliver, laughing, wrapped an arm around my shoulder. "Scarlett will get along well with Aria. She's 2 years older, so it's like having another big sister." Scarlett smiled and said, "Yes, nice to meet you." But her probing gaze lingered. At that celebration, Scarlett came up to me, beer in hand, and asked, "Why would you want to be a manager?" Her tone shifted from formal to informal, and her voice is a little lower, and it sounded almost provocative. Well, I was taken aback by her sudden change in attitude. Was Scarlett drunk? Her face wasn't flushed, and her words were clear. "Isn't it obvious that managers are supposed to be pretty? Are you okay in the head, doing this with your looks?" she remarked. Yeah. I was speechless. "Just being a manager to attract guys, and you ended up snagging Oliver? Poor guy," she muttered before walking away. I was stunned and couldn't respond. Later, I heard her cheerful voice. "Hey, Liam. Long time no see. It's Scarlett." I couldn't bring myself to tell Oliver about the confrontation. I thought that no one would want to hear bad things about their family members. A year later, Oliver and I got married, and I left the company to become a housewife. At our wedding, Scarlett approached me when I was alone and said, "Plain-looking people always marry early. Getting married at this age is so lame. I still want to have fun." Since then, Scarlett started attending every game and joined the after parties, often commenting, "Maybe I should start looking for a husband here, even with my looks." Scarlett was undeniably beautiful, but her words were frustrating. "Didn't you say you wanted to have fun?" I retorted. She smiled slyly. "Sure, I want to have fun, but maybe I'll marry if I find a really good man. Don't compare me to a desperate plain Jane like you." 3 years later, I received a wedding invitation from Scarlett. And so, the playtime's over, and settling down is the plan now, I thought. Even so, the ceremony starts at 2 p.m. Odd timing, huh? I thought wedding receptions were about having a meal. Why such an awkward time? Anyway, I showed the invitation we received to Oliver. But I already told Scarlett. I'm on a business trip to New Orleans that day. I mentioned I'd be traveling then, but the wedding is on November 11th, right? It's a Sunday. Plus, it's a significant date for them. The day they met, and also their dating anniversary, so they can't change it. Well, it is a special day for them. Right, so probably they had a prior booking and couldn't get their preferred time. I see. I guess that's part of the situation. While thinking that, I still felt uneasy about the timing of the event. It was 2 weeks later. Jack from the rugby team, Oliver's friend, came to visit, saying, "Long time no see, Aria." As I made tea, Jack started saying, "I just need to vent a bit." Being a manager and a venting outlet for the team members was part of the job. When I was the manager, I used to listen to Jack's complaints quite often. And now he's bringing his troubles to me, who's left both the job and the manager position. What could it be about? Maybe an injury or something. I started to worry. What's up? It's been a while, hasn't it? I served some cookies. Jack sat in the living room, looked at the cookies for a while, and said, Say, Aria, if I eat this cookie and we have a fight, would you ask me to give it back? What is he talking about? Well, once it's in your stomach, I mean, what's the point in returning stomach acid, right? I replied. Right. That makes sense, Jack murmured. Wait, what are you talking about? I'm lost here, I blurted out. It's about your husband's sister, you know? Oh, you mean Scarlett, who's getting married? Yeah, that's right, Jack said. That's when I heard an incredible story. You're dating? I exclaimed in shock. Yeah, and now I've been invited to the wedding, Jack replied. Well, you're in the same sports club, so it's not like you can just not go. Ah, you're invited by William, the groom, huh? Yeah, William and I are from the same batch. So Scarlett was cheating on you with William, a teammate, and now she's leaving you to marry him? No, Jack hesitated. Then he said, I found out about the marriage from Scarlett a week before the wedding invitation arrived. I had no idea she was dating William, so she cheated on me with a teammate, which was shocking. But what's more shocking is, when she told me about the marriage, she also said she wanted to continue our relationship. Like she's marrying William, but her heart belongs to me. I dropped my cup of tea in shock. What? Yeah, I know, right? That's exactly how it is. I hurriedly fetched a towel, but I couldn't digest the situation. Wait a minute, that sounds like an invitation to continue the affair. That's the thing. William is a good guy, and I want to keep playing rugby with him. You know, the one-for-all thing. Sure, the affair was a problem, but if I keep quiet, not only William, but everyone else can stay happy and oblivious. So I decided to keep our relationship a secret, and not blame her for the affair, for William's sake. Yeah. Jack is carrying the secret alone for everyone's sake. That's just too sad for him. The thought made the freshly brewed tea feel nauseating. But something I heard was bothering me. But that doesn't explain the cookie analogy. Yeah, that's actually what I came to talk about today. The story he told me next was even more astonishing, and I ended up spitting out my tea. Jack said, Last Christmas, she told me she'd prepared a special Christmas present. And then she gave him a Tag Heuer watch. Well, it's not as expensive as Rolex, but it's still a pretty costly adult gift. But then, when Jack tried to break up, she got mad and demanded, Then give me back the watch I gave you last Christmas. That's petty. Not just petty. She even asked for the box and manual back. It's an expensive watch, so I still had them and gave them back. But... And then around the time the wedding invitation arrived, William started doing this. Whoosh! At that moment, I accidentally spit out my tea. Tea in my nose hurt. That's terrible, just too terrible. Yeah. Jack says just hearing him out is enough, but I think this isn't something to just let slide. It's outright disrespectful to the groom, and more so. I thought we had broken up for good, but then Scarlett messaged me on WhatsApp saying, I still love you, and let's meet after the honeymoon. He showed me the screen of his mobile phone. I can't block her, right? She's Oliver's sister, and he's the captain. Jack looked completely lost. Maybe we should talk to Oliver about this, I suggested impulsively. No, it's fine. One for all, and all that. One for all? At this point, it doesn't matter. Or since Oliver will be away on a business trip that day, maybe you don't need to go. The timing is awkward anyway. The ceremony at 2 p.m., reception at 3. You won't even be hungry for dinner. Just say you caught a cold or something,
Huh?
Jack looked stern.
Aria, what are you talking about? The wedding is at 11, and the reception starts at noon.
What? My voice flipped in surprise.
Look, I always take photos of important events because I don't trust just putting them in my schedule.
He showed me a photo on his mobile phone. It was indeed at 11. But my invitation says... I showed Jack the invitation on my fridge from Scarlett.
What?
Jack was speechless. See?
To do this to you?
Jack set down his cup of tea. It had gone cold.
I thought I was doing this for one for all.
Jack murmured in a hoarse voice.
That woman is all for herself.
I cut straight to the point. You say it's for William's sake, but can someone as selfish as Scarlett really be a good wife for him?
No, I mean, it's one thing for me, but I can't stand her tricking someone like you, who's been so kind.
To tolerate it for oneself, but not for others. Jack and I both felt that way, so we started to plan. Our strategy meeting went on until that night. The teapot filled to the brim was now empty. Now, on the day of the wedding, I left home at 13:30 to be there on time. If I thought it was starting at 1400, it would be the perfect timing. Yes, I deliberately matched Scarlett's false timing. Knowing the correct time from Jack, I could have confronted Scarlett, or just attended at the right time, saying, "It seems like there was a mistake in the invitation time." But I chose to play along. This was the plan Jack and I had come up with. So when the staff said, "The ceremony starts at 11, reception at noon," I feigned surprise. Oh my, what a shock! And had the staff open the door for me, everyone was looking at me. There in the back, Scarlett showed a twisted smile. A smile that said, "Finally you're here. Time to embarrass you." Then Scarlett, the bride, stood up with a microphone in hand. Aria, my brother's wife, has just arrived. The late guest." Naturally, all eyes were on me, dressed in a plain suit. Scarlett was beaming. "But I'll apologize on behalf of my brother's wife. I'm so sorry for her uncouthness on such an important day. She's an inelegant sister-in-law, but I hope we can get along." So that's what she wanted to do. Make me look bad to make herself look good. Classic move. I walked straight up to Scarlett from the door I entered, and snatched the microphone from her with a swift move. A howling sound erupted. Then, turning my back to Scarlett, I took a deep breath. Time to say it. "Hello, everyone. The uncouth brother's wife here. I arrived exactly at the time stated on the invitation, but now I'm the rude one, which makes me wonder if the invitation itself was rude." "Huh? Invitation time?" The crowd began to murmur, but that's not the main point. After a pause, I blurted out, "Suddenly, let me introduce the real groom." "What?" Scarlett froze. So did everyone else. They probably couldn't understand what I was talking about in this situation. The true groom, Jack. Everyone turned to look. Jack stood up. I walked confidently towards him. "Then stand next to Jack." "Jack, when did your relationship start?"
"1.5 years ago.
Jack answered into the mic. "Oh, and how about the groom?" "William." I asked William standing next to Jack. William looked at Scarlett, flustered. Scarlett's demeanor had completely changed from her earlier triumphant mode. She was grinding her teeth like a wolf, glaring at us. "William, since when?" He had to answer, or the situation wouldn't settle. William, still flustered, grabbed a nearby mic.
"Well, 1 year ago today."
"Well then, it's hard to tell who should be the groom," I said. No matter what her expression was, I wouldn't let her off. Be prepared. I ignored Scarlett and continued. "Free love before marriage is one thing, but continuing a relationship based on infidelity like this? What do you think about that? Especially since she's still sending WhatsApp messages to the real groom here, wanting to meet. I've printed screenshots of those WhatsApp messages. You can each take one later from the table near the entrance where I came in. I pointed to a table near the entrance, piled with papers. Copies of the WhatsApp screenshots that Jack received, saying things like, "I still love you," and "Let's meet after the honeymoon." 100 copies. I printed 100, not knowing how many guests there were. He pointed at it.
That's, Jack. What's that supposed to mean?
William's voice trembled. Jack took a slight breath.
Sorry, I started dating her first, and I didn't know about Scarlett and William until they decided to marry, so it's not like I took her away. But I thought that an unknown happiness is still happiness. And I alone could just bear it silently. However, a person mean enough to change the time on Aria's invitation isn't someone you can be happy with, William. When I saw Aria's invitation, that's what I thought. William, it's not too late to wake up. As proof.
Jack, after all, must really love William as a friend. I could tell that from his compassionate gaze. Jack glanced at the watch William was wearing and gripped the microphone tighter.
That Tag Heuer watch. I received it as a Christmas gift last year and wore it until your wedding announcement. What?
William was speechless. Scarlett turned pale and looked back at William, staring at the watch. That's not it, William. This is. Scarlett's frantic attempts to explain seemed to fall on deaf ears. William, still holding the mic, muttered in disbelief.
You said it was a thanks for marrying me gift.
Hearing this, Jack's face turned stern, and he closed his eyes. It was clear Jack was in pain. Perhaps William would have been happier not knowing, but once you're married, the only private time you get is in the bathroom. It's better to reveal such a deceitful wife now, for the sake of Jack's dear friend. I slapped Jack's back firmly.
Aria.
Jack opened his eyes and looked back. Well done, Jack. You did great. I patted his back. Don't joke around. Don't believe her. The liar is this woman. Scarlett pointed at me and began to rant. An invitation with a different time for just one person? As if I could pull off such a thing. This question was expected. Look here. I held up my invitation next to Jack's. The time on Jack's is correct, but look, mine says 2 p.m. Showing the actual items is more convincing. The real thing is strong. Yet Scarlett continued to feign ignorance. So, Aria must have tampered with it, to frame me. If it's not true, then show evidence that I deliberately did it. You're good at deceiving people, Aria. After all, you seduced my brother to be a manager. It's weird. You're not even cute to be a manager. You must have been targeting my brother from the start.
Stop it.
William's voice, previously timid, now had a strong presence.
Stop speaking ill of Aria.
Scarlett fell silent at his intensity.
Do you think a manager is just a mascot girl? Being a manager means washing dirty, sweaty uniforms, carrying several 2-liter water jugs, preparing dozens of sandwiches, providing first aid for injuries. We've often been grateful to Aria for supporting us behind the scenes. She managed all our schedules diligently. Aria wouldn't get the time wrong, let alone create a fake invitation. Don't call her unattractive or say she seduced anyone. I won't allow anyone to speak ill of my benefactor.
The hall went silent, but I felt happy. Jack always thanked me, but William the groom was a quiet guy. For him to express his gratitude to me so openly was more than I could ask for. But, I made them all the same. Stop this accusation. Scarlett continued to shout. Then,
Aria didn't tamper with the invitation.
The door on the side I entered opened.
I got someone to cover my business trip, and I came at the time on the invitation we received at home.
It was Oliver. Oliver. His arrival was unexpected, and I expressed my surprise.
Sorry, Aria. I had to tell the captain. He's the most reliable, so I just went for it. End it here, William. One for all for one. If Jack has to suffer for this happiness, then its end is already in sight. I apologize for Scarlett's behavior, but...
Oliver walked straight towards William and said,
William, you should be married in a way that brings happiness and blessings from everyone, including Jack and the entire team.
Then turning to Scarlett, he continued,
And Scarlett, don't take advantage of my business trip to set up my wife. Wishing for someone else's unhappiness will never bring you any happiness.
I looked at Jack standing beside me. You did good, Jack. Jack was crying.
Captain always comes through.
Saying this, Jack ran towards Oliver. Everyone from the rugby team, who had been invited, rushed to William.
All right, let's go.
Oliver raised his voice.
One for all for one.
William, this time, find true happiness. And so, somewhat bizarrely, the gathering ended with William being piggybacked away. Scarlett stood to the side, slumped in defeat. What happened after that? Well, the marriage was immediately annulled, of course. Scarlett was scolded harshly and even disowned by Oliver's parents for being spoiled and indulged. Moreover, Scarlett's boss and colleagues from her company were at the wedding and began to look at her coldly, leading her to resign on her own accord. As for William, he later started dating and eventually married the manager who succeeded me. Jack, on the other hand, started dating someone at a team-organized barbecue. When she said she wanted them to wear matching items, Jack requested
anything but a watch,
leading her to give him a Minnie Mouse plush keychain, which he now attaches to his computer bag. A rugby player's bag with a Minnie Mouse keychain. How endearing. It almost seemed like I could hear someone singing. Attraction and differences. I think it's cute, I said to Jack. Jack, tugging on the Minnie Mouse's ear, laughed and replied,
Yeah, I guess so. I like that she's gentle and calm. Just the kind of person I need.
My name is Luda Okajima. I am a 29-year-old working professional for a prominent international company. I was born and raised in the United States until I was 18, and I am half Japanese and half white. My father works as the head of the company we work for, located in the States. I was tutored as a child and learned to speak 5 languages by the time I was in kindergarten, and so I found my way as the head of the company, located in Japan, to this present day. I owe it all to my dad's influence and the education he was able to provide for me. I respected my mother's traditional values and agreed upon an arranged marriage. My husband is 6 years older than me, and his name is Akinari. We got married knowing that love was never the foundation of what started our union. We started living together, and I noticed the little things that seemed to bother him. The laundry is dirty. I need it washed. Our conversations are usually surface level, given our situation. Sorry, I've been busy with all of my work emails this week. Not an excuse, hon. I'm busy as well. All wives work these days and can still manage to maintain their household. He was very adamant about our roles and responsibilities. I am a hard and loyal worker, but cohabitating is new to me. I was trying my best to adjust to this. You're just standing there drinking coffee right now. What does that have to do with anything? Drinking coffee is what gets me going. I'm preparing myself for the day. Mind your business. Akinari has been this way since we got married. He probably doesn't really love me either. He pointed out that I was homeschooled, so I was more than capable of housework. Fine. Yes, I am more than capable to do the housework. You knew that from the start. You're so self-centered for someone who never got a proper education. This household runs because of me. Remember that. We lived in a 4-bedroom single-family home. His dream was to buy and own a home, so we got a loan from the bank and got approved. It wasn't a priority of mine, but he implied that it's just a manly accomplishment, and I wouldn't get it. We didn't ask each other about what we did for work. We weren't really that interested. Education isn't everything in life, I simply stated. Are you testing me? You're going to minimize my education? The husband is supposed to be the breadwinner, and the wife is supposed to quietly follow behind his shadow. And you have a thick accent. People can't even understand you over here. We're in Japan. He scolded me for anything and everything. I was born and raised in the US. Of course, my Japanese isn't going to sound natural. My mother tried her best to help me with the diction and pronunciations. I spoke 5 different languages. I know I'm not going to sound like I'm a native from Japan because I'm not. My husband didn't know this about me, so he assumed I was just dumb. I'm off to do the laundry. I had the day off and Akinari would be leaving for work in an hour. He's a huge germaphobe and often reminded me by saying, "You need to wipe the toilet seat with bleach after every use." He watched me like a hawk to make sure I cleaned and wiped down everything after each use. When we first started living together, I remember I would walk into the house with my shoes on, which is normal for anyone who lives in America. He immediately resounded with, "Are you white or are you Japanese? Don't be gross like everyone in America. Take your shoes off." In my head, I huffed, "I am white. I'm half white." He was just anal about being clean. He was never without hand sanitizer, wipes, or disinfectant. And at home, he made me feel like I was the messiest person on earth. "I'm sorry for the germs." I would apologize and wipe things down daily and after everything I did. Honestly, it was annoying. As I started loading the washer, I thought I heard him call for me. So I went to see what he needed. "Did you call for me?" He quickly said, "I did, but you took way too long to come. Clearly, you're just testing my patience." "I couldn't hear you. I told you I was doing laundry, and the washing machine is so loud." I was being honest and explaining that to him. "You couldn't hear over the washer? Are you deaf? You're pathetic. This is why people without a degree will never make anything of themselves." My husband loved to point out my background whenever he could. I couldn't finish my degree in the US because my father had to switch jobs at the time. As soon as we settled in Japan, I had to earn a degree in order to get a job. I passed the entrance exam at a community college willing to accept me, and I earned my degree there. That school just so happened to be a college known in the area for failures and dropouts. My husband earned his degree from the University of Tokyo. Being from America, it's not like I knew that meant it was such a huge deal. I only found out after we got married that it's the best university in Japan. But I don't care about things like that. I think the value of someone is more than just their degree. Is it really that bad that I studied and graduated from a community college? What about everyone else in Japan who went there? Is that how you think of them too? I was beginning to question his morals. What's wrong with being a graduate from a community college? There are plenty of capable people in the world, regardless of which university they graduate from. Even in my company today, there are people with only high school diplomas, and they are doing just fine. I wonder why he's so caught up with the look of things. You're helpless. In Japan, we value education. You should know that by now. You work here. Someone without a decent education is practically useless here. I'm sorry, I didn't know. Oh, and you went to the University of Tokyo, right? Isn't that the best education anyone could receive? The University of Tokyo. Ha! Yeah, it's incredible. I can't help but laugh because you don't even know just how impressive it is. I'm embarrassed that I married someone who isn't as smart as I am. If it weren't for the fact that my mom just so happened to know your mom, I wouldn't have gone through with this marriage. Someone like you does not deserve someone like me. He tends to talk a lot about himself and always redirects it to what I'm lacking that he isn't. He likes to make me feel inferior. In my opinion, people like him should be the least worthy of succeeding at their jobs. But strangely enough, having his educational background was enough to allow him to succeed. Even though I couldn't understand where he was coming from, I told him, "I understand. Someone like me doesn't deserve to be with someone as smart as you." "Whatever. You just need to do what I tell you to do. I am an alumni of the University of Tokyo, so I will teach you. Just don't do anything yourself." He has a big ego and likes to be in control. I can't even try to slightly disagree because he will always have the last say. All right, it's about time to go to work. Akinari packed his suitcase without finishing his coffee and was out the door. I looked at the table and started to clean up. "Isn't this table clean enough?" I muttered to myself. 3 hours after my husband left for work, I received a call. Hello. What? With a subcontractor? I got it. I'll be there as soon as I can. My firm called me about an error they found in an order with a subcontractor. I work for a construction company. The subcontractors failed to deliver the materials we needed in time for our next project, which meant that the project's start date would be delayed. And if it couldn't get any worse, the materials we need them from are being shipped from overseas. This is critical, both in terms of schedule and cost. We'll probably have to pay extra and the construction will be delayed. It was supposed to be my day off, but work needs me. By the time I arrived, everyone was preoccupied with something. And as soon as I came into the office, I met with the team. I needed to look at the project's invoices and materials. I highlighted the materials being used and assigned priority to the buildings that would begin construction. I managed to come up with a plan for the construction to be scheduled to begin next week, but I knew it wasn't over just yet. If the other extra materials don't come in on time, then other future construction projects will also be affected. Usually, the subcontractor was supposed to handle matters like this. After a long day, I finally came home from work on what was supposed to be my day off. I laid in bed and quickly passed out. Luda! Luda! I heard my name and quickly woke up. Oh, I'm so sorry. I passed out. I wasn't really sorry, but Akinari was judging me anyway. You're so privileged. You have a day off and can't even make your husband dinner and you just sleep instead. I just woke up and he was already starting with this. I'm sorry, I had to go into work actually. There was a situation. I explained to him what happened, and he responded, what kind of incompetent company calls its employees on a day off? I had a tough day today too, you know. He wanted his problems to be more important. Maybe he couldn't accept the fact that his wife was a better employee than he was. It could be his ego and pride from being an alumni of the University of Tokyo. Since I knew better and was used to his reactions by now, I just tuned him out. Wait, it's 8 o'clock? I picked up the clock next to the bed and screamed. I've been asleep for 5 hours since I got home from work today. The laundry I loaded this morning was still in the washer, and I had to make dinner. All of the things I had to do suddenly caught up to me. Yeah, so what are you waiting for? First, make dinner. Then you can clean the tub. After that, do the laundry and the rest of the cleaning. There was a piece of your hair on the floor. It's filthy. Not only was he still going, but he was even more furious because I had fallen asleep. He never helped with anything around the house since the day we got married, and he isn't going to start now. He told me what I needed to do, and he walked into the living room. I jumped out of bed, washed my face, and started dinner. As dinner was about to be ready, Akinari got a call from work. It's me. This again? Just keep a low profile for now. Don't talk to them about anything, not a single thing. If they find out, we'll be the ones getting sued, and I'm the one that will be the most affected. Be aware. And he quickly hung up the phone. Who was that? Work? Did you say something about getting sued? Is something happening? I already knew something was happening because I overheard his conversation, but he didn't admit to anything. Please, relax. It doesn't concern you. Even if there was a problem, your little brain wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Ha! I wasn't expecting him to come back at me with an insult. I angrily ignored him and just focused on getting through dinner. I'm going to the office, he suddenly decided. He quickly got up and grabbed his phone and wallet. I didn't get a chance to ask him why he was leaving, because he was already walking out the door. When I turned back around, I realized his suitcase was left behind. A clear file was sticking out of the bag. What is this? When I picked it up and looked at it, it said, Okadera Mountain Resort Hotel Construction Plan Details. This is... I felt a shock run through my spine. I quickly took a picture of the file and papers with my phone as evidence. After putting everything back the way I found it, I was furious. Akinari came back just before midnight. I heard the front door. I'm back, I heard him announce. Then I heard him starting to walk into the living room. Welcome back, I said to him. First, I need food. He demanded his dinner. I simply said, I didn't make it. What did you just say? You didn't make dinner? Yeah, I had something more important to do. He raised his voice. You're giving me excuses again? Do you know how much time you've had? There's only so much incompetence someone can take. That's why I can't stand you community college people. I don't even care if we divorce at this point. He sounded completely serious. He's someone who believes in a patriarchy. It's always his way or the highway. Finally, I snapped back, having enough. Okay, then please, let's get a divorce. He didn't expect that response from me. Let's what? He was confused, and I didn't hesitate to continue. You've been making me feel dumb and telling me I'm not as smart as you. But that's far from the truth. My sharp words left him wondering. What do you mean by that? I don't care about school, so I just kept this a secret. But I actually used to attend Harvard University. Uh, do you know what Harvard University is? I could tell he was shocked. I knew, based on who he was, that this is something even he knew was impressive. But before I knew it, he huffed, You're lying. Harvard University? That's not even possible. You're from Japan. Oh, didn't your mother tell you? I was born and raised in the US and I lived there until I was 18. You what? What did you just say? Akinari looked like he was in pain. His ego was definitely shot down hearing this news. He was so proud of earning a degree from the best university in Japan, but this reminded him that there were even more impressive and prestigious universities that existed. And he knew that Harvard was no joke. You're messing with me. There is no way in hell I believe that. He started to become disrespectful. Are your feelings hurt? You have nothing to say but inappropriate things. I guess the University of Tokyo isn't that great after all. I didn't think I had that in me. My feelings aren't hurt. I just need proof. Show me the proof. He just needs to see it for himself to believe it. So I showed him a photo of me I took at freshman year orientation. Do you know how to read English? The sign says Harvard Uni. Don't mock me! I can read that! And he went to study the photo himself. Do you believe me now? Why did you keep this from me? If I knew this, I would have never married you. If you had known. Do you really need to be smarter than your wife? Just to keep your own ego? And your mom really never said anything? Both of our parents know who we are. Well, I didn't bother to ask either. It didn't matter to me. Me trying to keep my own ego? No. He didn't want to admit to it, and he continued. And no, my mom didn't tell me anything. And what do you mean you didn't care? That means you weren't interested in me at all in the first place. He started to act like the victim. Isn't it low of you to look down on people based on their education? I know I don't seem like it, but I can speak 5 languages. English, Japanese, Spanish, French, and Portuguese. How many can you speak? You graduated from the University of Tokyo, and you're so smart. Tell me, can you talk to me in a different language? What does smart mean to you anyway? What's so impressive about the University of Tokyo? I started to tease him. He started sweating. 5 languages? Really? Why would someone like you go to that community college then? It's like you did it to mess with me. And don't even start. I am superior to everyone else because I went to the University of Tokyo. He stubbornly clung to his claims. Clearly, where he went to school was very understandably to be respected and impressive in his eyes. I wanted to keep going, and I could tell in his eyes he was frustrated. It's because you judge people based on where they studied. You get what you deserve if you judge people based on just that. It's more valuable to have someone who can genuinely work well, regardless of their background. That's why I'm the vice president of my company. He struggled to find the words as he was processing this. As far as he knew until now, he was always on a level above me in life. It seemed to shift things into a different perspective for him. Forget it. I have something more serious I need to talk to you about. I needed to get back to the main issue at hand. I knew the conversation was leading to planning out the divorce, but there was something else I needed to handle first. You need to talk to me about something more important than this? Akinari was shocked, wondering what else I even had to say. I handed him the file I found earlier. Tell me what this is." Before he could finish, I answered for him. "This is the detailed plan for the Okadera Mountain Resort Hotel construction project." I know it was the special project he was working on at work. "How did you—" "I saw it sticking out of your bag, so I looked." "You looked at my private work files? Do you know how important this is? If this ever got in the wrong hands." "What? Are you afraid of being sued by my company and having the truth exposed? Is that what would happen if it ever got in the wrong hands?" Akinari was speechless. He looked at me wide-eyed. "We have both been too uninvolved with each other. That document is a joint construction project agreement and contract between my company and yours. See where it says Cooperating Company and XX Company? XX Company is the name of my company, and I'm the vice president," I admitted with a smile. His mouth swung wide open, and I could see a bead of sweat drip down his face. He started to panic, and he pretended to look over the document. "No, that can't be right. My assistant must have made a mistake in the ordering of materials or something." "Are you now making excuses?" "You just admitted to the mistake in the ordering. I didn't even say anything about that. We were trying to figure out what happened and realized that there was a mistake in the order since we suddenly couldn't get in touch with your company. We were planning to confirm it later, but now you've just confirmed it yourself. That statement and confession is all that I need." He put his hand up to his mouth, probably to try and keep himself from admitting anything else. "No, it's too late now. And from what I heard on the phone, you seem to be the person responsible for this. You can't place your orders correctly, and you try to cover your mistakes. You can't even handle the construction schedule. It's safe to assume that a University of Tokyo graduate simply can't work well, the way you make it seem. Or do you still think you're just so smart?" He immediately cut me off. "Damn it! Why does my wife's company have to be the one better than mine? How is this even possible? Ugh, this is ridiculous. I am smart and capable because I graduated from the University of Tokyo. You know it!" he cried to himself. I calmly replied, "Well, I never thought of you as someone smart," I stated. "Oh, come on." The look on his face makes me sick. "I'm the vice president and handle the entire project. Therefore, I am stopping all transactions with your company and claim damages for this project. And on a different note, I will also be filing for divorce." I told him all 3 actions that were to take place. Please, anything but that. My husband, who was usually disrespectful, was now begging me with his palms together. "What do you mean when you say anything but that? Any, and all of those things, all of them. My life will fall apart all at once. All of them." "All of them? Then it's not just that one thing now, is it?" I couldn't help but laugh at his incompetency this time. He watched me laugh at him and felt ashamed of himself. I no longer choose to be involved with such an incapable person, as a couple or a company. Just give up and walk away with your dignity, I advised. Then he realized he was out of options and clung to my leg. Was this his last attempt at trying to save himself? "Please, don't leave me. Don't leave me." The high and mighty confident guy I once knew was now being the opposite. He was like a child being kicked out of his parents' home as punishment for bad behavior. I ignored him and made a phone call instead. "Hi, President. I'll explain the details later, but I found the person responsible for that mishap on the project earlier. Yes, I'll be sure to claim the damages thoroughly. Okay, bye." After I hung up, he let go of my legs slowly and stared down at the floor. I wanted to go to bed, so I didn't say a word to him and headed to my bedroom and just left him there. The next day, when I woke up, my husband was nowhere to be found. Before I headed to work, I went to the courthouse to get the divorce paperwork. I got the documents I needed and kept them in my purse. I wanted to have him sign the papers after work. When I arrived at work, there was a dispute in front of the entrance. I saw Akinari and some men shouting, and I heard Akinari's voice over them. "I'm so sorry." As soon as the president saw me coming, he said to me, "They've been here for 30 minutes and it's causing a disturbance." I decided to call the police after he said that. 10 minutes later, the police confronted my husband and the men. They were all shouting at once, and I couldn't understand what they were saying. The police gave them a stern warning, and they left. That night, Akinari came home looking defeated. Without a word, he signed the papers I presented him. Don't ever do something so embarrassing again. And he just continued signing the papers without saying a word. It was like he couldn't hear me. He was a broken man. I ensured that he signed all of the documents properly, and I left with my things already packed. I didn't say anything else to him. I decided to stay in a hotel until I could find a place for myself. The next day, I submitted all of the paperwork. From the beginning, our marriage never had any love at its core. So I wasn't sad, nor did I stress over it. I went to work as usual, and life went on. 2 weeks later, I hear that my ex-husband's company has filed for bankruptcy. Apparently, after paying all the damages to my company, there was not enough funding, and it was hard to manage any future projects for their company. As a result, the project leader, as you know, my ex-husband, was sued by the company. The president, my boss, told me everything. My ex-husband judged people based on their education and treated me like I was incompetent and incapable. But because of this, he ironically proved that someone's education doesn't matter. Yes, Japan still respects high education. There are still many jobs that require at least a bachelor's degree. But once you join a company, everyone is an equal. I think that whether you succeed depends on your resourcefulness and intentions, not just on your academic skills. Because of that, I reassured to myself that I don't care about a person's educational background. I don't think going to Harvard is particularly impressive. I think it just depends on how dedicated you are. Keeping that in mind, I will continue with my own dedication and intention, and I know that I will continue to succeed.
I've been asked to look after my sister's child starting next week. I had finally entered my second trimester and was beginning to feel some ease. All of a sudden, my husband came up with an outrageous idea. Take care of your sister-in-law's child? I'm pregnant, remember? Despite my objections, my husband insisted. You're in your second trimester, aren't you? Right from the start, he seemed all too ready to push everything onto me. For the sake of the child I'm carrying, I can't take any more. That's when I decided to call a certain person. My name is Anna, 28 years old. It's been almost 3 years since I married my husband, Max. Right now, I'm pregnant with our long-awaited first child. As soon as I found out I was pregnant, I quit my job and became a full-time homemaker. I had initially planned to work until maternity leave, but the severity of my morning sickness made me give up. Thinking that taking irregular days off would be an inconvenience to my employer, I resigned, albeit reluctantly. Last week, I finally entered my second trimester. My morning sickness, which had been so unbearable, has significantly improved, and I'm able to eat to a certain extent. I thought I could finally have a peaceful pregnancy. That's what I believed. Then, one day, as I was preparing dinner, my husband received a phone call. With a grimace on his face, he weakly responded, What? Starting next week? So suddenly? Uh-huh. Yeah, I suppose. Okay, I got it. He seemed deeply troubled. After he hung up, he dropped his shoulders and let out a heavy sigh. Seriously? What's wrong? Who is that? It was my sister. Your sister? What about her? At my question, my husband made a face. We're going to be looking after my sister's child starting next week. What? So that's why we're taking care of them. Hold on a minute. What are you saying all of a sudden? Summer break starts next week, right? My sister said, I need some peace and quiet. Could you take care of the kids? He made it sound like it was no big deal. It was infuriating. I found my anger bubbling up as I faced him, and I had to speak up. Hey, I'm pregnant, you know? Do you understand that? And your sister's kids, they're 3 boys, right? Yeah, I know, but you're in your second trimester, aren't you? What? Is he serious? The second trimester just means some of the early worries have lessened than before. It's not like I can do anything without worry now. His words irked me, and I blurted out my feelings. I don't care about being in my second trimester. Being pregnant means my condition is different than usual, you know. There's no way I can take care of your sister's kids in this state. Well, what can we do? She said it wouldn't be a lot of trouble. So, you are going to ignore how I feel. How can you just say okay on your own? You're so annoying. Think of it as a parenting rehearsal. A rehearsal? 1 elementary school student and 2 preschoolers? You think I can take care of 3 rambunctious boys right now? Well, that's... Cornered by my harsh questions, Max could only look down, guilty. When will this end? I asked, to which he replied something else I couldn't believe. The duration is, about 2 weeks. What? 2 weeks? That's way too long. Are you out of your mind? She's the one who said it. What can I do? If you have any complaints, tell her, not me. You keep saying, my sister this, my sister that. Don't you have your own opinion, Max? Are you going to prioritize your sister's demands over your pregnant wife? Well, I can't help it. She's scary when she's mad. What kind of reason is that? Max has an older sister, Annie, who is 5 years older. Despite being almost 30, Max seems to be completely under her thumb. It must be the age difference as well as Annie's strong personality. He always prioritizes her wishes first. Every time I heard about it, I couldn't help but feel pathetic. Up until now, I would have just resigned myself, saying, well, it's just the usual, can't help it. But the circumstances are different now. If anything happens to the baby in my belly, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. This time, I have to prevent it at all costs. With a firm resolve, I confronted Max firmly. Please tell Annie no. But it's already decided. I don't care. What if something happens to the baby? Can you take responsibility? Why does it have to be like that? Consider my position too. Huh? Don't joke with me. I object. You better say no. If you're so insistent, Anna, you should tell Annie yourself. I can't do it. Max locked himself in his room as if to escape. What's with that attitude? Prioritizing his sister over his pregnant wife? Can such a thing even happen? Anyway, I have to refuse Annie as soon as possible. I immediately tried to call Annie, but there was no sign of her answering. Why? Why isn't she picking up? Annie, who knows my strong-willed nature well, probably thinks it's a done deal once the kids arrive here. Despite calling numerous times afterwards, Annie never answered the phone. She herself has been pregnant and given birth to 3 kids. Why doesn't she understand my feelings? Despite this, how can she think it's okay to hoist her children on me, a pregnant woman, for 2 whole weeks? I could not understand her mindset at all. There's another reason I'm so resistant. That's because I've actually taken care of Annie's 3 sons before. Even though I was taking care of them with my mother-in-law, it was really tough. They ran around the house, shrieked, and threw food everywhere. Even when I wasn't pregnant, it was tremendously challenging to take care of them. There's no way I could handle them in my current state. In fact, my sister-in-law's children are probably even more energetic than they were before. The mere thought filled me with dread. The next day and the day after that, I repeatedly negotiated with my husband. Max, please, can you tell your sister that we can't watch the kids? But if you're so bothered, why don't you just tell her yourself? I've tried calling her, but she doesn't pick up. She's clearly avoiding my calls on purpose. How am I supposed to know? What do you mean, how are you supposed to know? What am I supposed to do if she won't answer the phone? That's why I'm asking you, Max, to talk to her for me. You're being too persistent. It's already been decided that we're watching them. Just accept it. That's nonsense. In the end, my husband never got in touch with his sister, and the day the kids were due to arrive kept getting closer. 2 days before the children were to arrive, when my husband came home from work, I confronted him again. You've given up on declining your sister's request to watch the kids, so naturally you're going to take off of work to help, right? His face went white as he blurted out, What? Why me? I have work. I don't want to hear about work. What? Were you planning to leave me alone with 3 kids all along? But I have no choice. If I don't work, we can't make a living, and I can't just take a sudden leave of absence. Oh, really? So you plan to dump everything on me from the start? Well, that is... Never mind. Keep on doing whatever your sister tells you to. After I sharply dismissed him, he clicked his tongue in dissatisfaction. In that moment, my anger surged like a flame. What? How dare he act that way? This whole situation started because he didn't firmly decline in the first place. I can't stand this. I'm not going to be manipulated any longer. I immediately decided to return to my parents' house. So I dialed my mom's number back at home. Hello, Mom? It's me. Oh my, it's been a while. What's up? Well, actually, as I narrated the events of the past few days, my mom's reaction was unexpected. I see, but no, you can't come back here. What? Why? I'm really stressed out with what's happening right now. It's okay. I'm not saying you should handle it all by yourself. I'll come to you. What? What do you mean by I'll come there and straighten out Max and those kids? Any husband who can't take care of his pregnant wife isn't worth a dime. We need to fix his attitude now. But, Mom... Before I could finish my sentence, Mom cheerfully reassured me. It's okay. I won't let you be wronged. Just leave the rest to me. Okay. All right. I'll be there the day after tomorrow. And just like that, the call ended. Although I was worried, the idea of my mom coming over was reassuring. And then 2 days later came. Earlier than expected, at the crack of dawn at 6 a.m., my sister-in-law left her 3 boys with us. Woken by the loud voices of the children, I stumbled out of bed. I let them into the house, but it didn't take long for them to start arguing. Hey, this is my game. Don't touch it. Brother hit me. Auntie, I'm hungry. It was like a war zone. Hold on, all this in just 1 hour of their arrival? Why would the argument start so quickly? Just then, my husband in his sleep woke up. Okay, take care of the rest. What? Wait a second. You're still going to dump this situation on me? I don't have a choice, do I? I have work. This isn't a joke. Just as I was about to shout at him, the doorbell rang. I'll get it, he said, heading for the door as if escaping. Yes, who is... Huh? Long time no see, Max. Mother-in-law? Saved. Mother has arrived. Max, my husband, seemed confused at the sight of my mother. Why is my mother-in-law here? Why do you think? You are not only neglecting Anna, who is pregnant, but also accepting your sister-in-law's children without thinking. Well... Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll be taking care of the kids for the next 2 weeks. Is that right? You're about to become a father, Max. I won't allow you to just stand by and watch. At Mother's words, Max hastily shouted, "Wait a minute. I have work. And if mother-in-law is here, Anna will surely feel relieved." What are you talking about? So, if I go home right now, you will take a leave from work and take care of everything? Well, that is. Listen, I'm not asking for 2 weeks. Just take a week off on paid leave. What? Paid leave? For a whole week? Of course. You're the one who let your sister-in-law dictate to you. Or would you prefer that I take Anna home with me right now? No. That would be a problem. Okay, I understand. I'll take it. I'll take a week of paid leave. And so, Max ended up taking a week of paid leave and was tasked with helping Mother take care of the children. Can you boys introduce yourselves? When Mother asked the 3 boys, they started shouting in response. Who the hell is this old hag? So annoying. Annoying. Okay, let's start with learning some manners, shall we? I'll be keeping this game of yours. Hey, give it back. Not speaking very nicely, are you? Well, I'll be treating you appropriately then. With a hard glare from Mother, the children let out a small squeak. It's quite something, you know, even if I do say so myself as her daughter, but when my mother gets angry, she's terrifying. When she's mad, she turns into something so fierce you can hardly believe it's the same woman with her normally gentle expression. Plus, my mom used to be an elementary school teacher. There's hardly a better person for handling children. Throughout this time, my mother didn't hesitate to discipline the unruly kids. She made sure they were in bed by 9 p.m. and got them up at 7 a.m. While they were at our place, she set a limit of 1 hour of video games per day. 2 weeks later, I was worried about what would happen, but it all went smoothly. Even the kids who initially disliked my mother gradually started listening to her. We were supposed to send the kids back to my sister-in-law's house that day, but my mother stopped it. Max, I'm taking the kids to your parents' house. What? And please invite your sister-in-law to your parents' house too. Is that okay? Yes, understood. In these 2 weeks, my husband was entirely reformed by my mother, becoming a more dependable man than before. Max contacted his sister and changed the meeting place to his parents' house. We all headed to Max's parents' house. As soon as we arrived, my sister-in-law, Annie, approached Max with a displeased expression. Max, why on earth are we at your parents' house? I told you to bring them to my place. Well, my mother-in-law suggested. What? Mother-in-law? Who the hell's? As Annie raised her voice, my mother greeted her with a bright smile. Nice to meet you. Who are you? I'm Anna's mother. I heard that my daughter has been helping you out. Oh, hello, Anna's mother. Nice to meet you. Why would you dump 3 boys on a pregnant woman for 2 weeks? What on earth were you thinking? What? My mother, who had tried to keep things peaceful, began to directly question Annie, who was attempting to play innocent. Even my mother-in-law, who didn't know the full story, joined in confronting Annie. Hey, Annie, what the hell is going on? You left the kids with Anna, is that true? That is... Do you know Anna is pregnant? Are you aware? No, it's not like that. I just asked Max for a favor. I didn't force it on Anna. The sister-in-law, accused by my mother-in-law, desperately made excuses. Unable to bear the sight, my mother quietly interrupted the conversation. Could you stop this unseemly arguing? Annie, you've experienced pregnancy, right? You understand that even during the second trimester, you can't let your guard down, right? That's also your child doesn't even know how to hold a pencil. Can't show their appreciation for a meal. What kind of education are you providing? Uh, mm, um, well, I corrected all the points I noticed, but that wasn't for you. It would be the kids who would suffer if they continue as they are. I did it for them. Please don't misunderstand that. Annie's face gradually turned pale and she eventually fell silent. My mother-in-law, who had been listening to the conversation, turned bright red and apologized to my mother, saying, "I'm sorry." Even after that, my mother went on to talk about how she had been disciplining the children with all her might for the past 2 weeks. She took the opportunity to criticize Annie's parenting and even criticized my mother-in-law's way of raising her daughter, Annie, with a hint of sarcasm. By the time my mother finished speaking, both my mother-in-law and Annie were completely exhausted. "I'm truly sorry." They both bowed deeply to my mother. After that, it seems that Annie was severely scolded by my mother-in-law. "What's wrong with you? Because of you, I was humiliated." "But I just wanted a break." "There's a limit, you know. Forcing your kids on pregnant Anna for 2 weeks, that's insane." "Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do it again." Crying loudly, Annie repeatedly bowed her head. By my mother-in-law's order, she was strictly forbidden to leave the children at our house in the future. Ever since then, my husband has become much more reliable. It's probably thanks to my mother, but I also feel a change in my husband's attitude. "Anna, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that housework and child rearing were so hard." "It's okay. I'm glad that you understand." "I won't be swayed by my sister anymore. From now on, I will prioritize you, Anna, and act accordingly. You may not trust me right away, but I want you to watch me as I strive to be a good husband and a good father." "Thank you, Max. It's okay now. With him as he is now, I'm sure we can build a happy family." Looking at him, who was staring straight at me, I was convinced of that. After that, a healthy baby was born to us, the couple. My husband has become very fond of children, and he is taking paternity leave and taking care of them earnestly. All of this is thanks to my mother's teachings.
Truth is, my ex-wife died in an accident. I'm thinking of taking in our twin daughters, but that's probably not okay, right? Sorry for such a talk. I blurted out.
It's fine,
Came the upbeat reply from my wife. I thought for a moment I'd misheard her. Wait, are you sure? We're talking about adding 2 kids to our family,
It's okay. Bring them home,
she said. I couldn't fathom why she agreed to this sudden proposal, and then she explained. My name is Hayden. I've been married to Lisa for 2 years now. I'm divorced, and this is my second marriage with Lisa. My ex-wife cheated on me, which led to our divorce. My ex, Amy, was flamboyant and sociable, the exact opposite of me, with a large circle of friends. I am a simple guy, but Amy liked the fact that I was a key player in a renowned corporation, so she decided to marry me. Amy's advancements were so persistent that I ultimately gave in and married her. Life with Amy was enjoyable in its own way. I'm grateful to Amy for giving birth to our twin daughters, who are my world. Just as our twin daughters, Molly and Clara, turned 2, Amy abruptly declared, I want a divorce. I'm pregnant with another man's child. At first, I couldn't comprehend what she was saying. My anger flared up, and I demanded to know who the man was. The father of Amy's child was a frivolous man, whom Amy met often. He was one among Amy's large circle of friends, and even attended our wedding. I couldn't believe that a man who attended our wedding would then go on to have an affair with my wife. I couldn't bear to breathe the same air as Amy anymore, so I took Molly and Clara and moved back with my parents. We filed for divorce, demanding compensation, but I couldn't win custody of my daughters. I'd heard it was difficult for fathers to win custody of young children, but it was hard for me to accept that even though the mother had cheated, I couldn't secure their custody. Regardless, I couldn't overturn it, and was granted visitation rights to see Molly and Clara by paying child support, looking forward to the days when I could see my girls. I had no choice but to continue living. I tried to create as many happy memories as possible whenever I saw Molly and Clara, to ensure their memories with their dad were joyous ones. We would go to theme parks, visit zoos. I did everything I could for my adorable daughters, but I could no longer live with them. Once I dropped them back with Amy, I would get on the train home alone. One such day, I suddenly realized I was crying. My wife had been stolen, my daughters taken away, and I felt empty. I was so emotionally drained that I didn't know what I was living for. A grown man crying on a train must have been an odd sight. As people distanced themselves from me, Lisa approached me.
Are you okay? If you're not feeling well, we can get off at the next station together, she offered.
I found Lisa to be quite unusual with her genuine concern. I wondered what she stood to gain by being kind to a man like me. I'm okay, I curtly replied.
People who are okay don't cry,
Lisa responded, handing me a handkerchief, and indeed, she got off at the next station with me. I stopped as Lisa suggested calling over a station attendant, and sitting on a bench on the platform, I confided to her about my miserable situation. As I spoke, she nodded attentively, making me realize what an unusual person she was.
You'll be fine, Hayden. This might be a dark period in your life right now, but brighter days will come.
I was genuinely comforted by Lisa's words. Using the excuse that I wanted to wash and return her handkerchief, I got Lisa's contact information, and we began to meet frequently after that. Lisa, who is kind to everyone and treats every person with the utmost kindness, was even more of an oddball the more I got to know her. I even started suspecting if she had any ulterior motives. However, Lisa was not the type to be cunning or double-faced. She often made endearing blunders, and I found myself falling for her. Each time she would call out, "Hayden, what should I do?" in panic, seeking my help. We ended up getting married as a result of my approach towards her. You light up my life, Lisa. Will you marry me? The moment Lisa laughed joyfully at my embarrassingly sincere proposal, I knew I would never forget it for the rest of my life. I was still able to meet Molly and Clara on a regular basis as always. Even after the birth of our son Tom, I continued to see them. Lisa was aware that I was paying child support and knew I had twin daughters. But I couldn't bring myself to tell her about my meetings with Molly and Clara, fearing it would upset her. Feeling guilty, I lied to Lisa, saying I was going to hang out with friends whenever I went to see Molly and Clara. Lisa would see me off with a smile and say, "Be careful." One day, while thinking that I should eventually tell her that I was regularly meeting with Molly and Clara, I received a sudden, shocking message. "Amy died." The message was from Amy's mother. Amy's mother, with a crestfallen look on her face, informed me that Amy had died in an accident. Amy, her current husband with whom she was having an affair, and their child who was born to them, were all killed in a tragic car accident during a road trip. Amy's mother told me that she couldn't take care of Molly and Clara, as her own health was failing, and their grandfather had passed away earlier. The moment she said she would have to put Molly and Clara in a facility if no one could take them in, I found myself instinctively saying, "I'll take them in." Amy's mother thanked me, but I was immediately consumed by a sense of guilt for having given an impulsive response. After all, I had my own family now with Lisa and Tom. Feeling it was unforgivable, I decided to discuss this with Lisa. "Actually, my ex-wife died in an accident. I want to take in the twins, but that's not okay, is it? I'm sorry for bringing up such a topic." What? That's awful. No, it's fine. I was startled by Lisa's response. I was prepared for divorce, or at least a look of disgust. I thought I had heard wrong. You're okay with it? This means we'll have 2 more kids. That's fine. Bring them home. They must be scared with their mother suddenly gone. With that, she urged me, who was still in a daze, to prepare to go out. Putting on my shoes in the foyer, I asked Lisa, "Why are you forgiving me?" She laughed at me with a slightly bewildered expression. You silly. After all, you've always been loving towards the twins, Molly and Clara. I noticed. You've been visiting them regularly. Why? Well, you always seem so cheerful when you return from these sneaky outings. I knew you wouldn't cheat on me. Pretty good detective, huh? Lisa joked, and I immediately understood she was trying to cheer me up. At the same time, I came to realize how big-hearted Lisa was. Thank you, I said, and then I headed to my in-laws' house by car to pick up Molly and Clara. At only 5 years old, Molly and Clara, suddenly left all alone, were asleep in their grandparents' house, huddled together for mutual support. Seeing the traces of tears on their cheeks truly pained me. I thanked my mother-in-law, woke up Molly and Clara, and tried to explain the situation as simply as possible so that even children could understand. They cried at the thought of never seeing Amy again, but they said they wanted to live with me. In the car, I talked to Molly and Clara about Lisa and our baby, telling them how kind and wonderful Lisa was, and that our baby was still very small and adorable. The girls looked anxious. When we got home, Lisa had prepared a feast. She had cooked dishes that she thought the children would like, and she introduced herself to Molly and Clara with a warm smile. I'm Lisa. I'll be living with you 2 from now on, so let's get along. I know you must be very sad right now, but don't worry. You have your dad, and of course, I'll be here too. Lisa spoke to Molly and Clara in a gentle voice, and without seeming bothered by their lack of response, she encouraged them to eat their fill. The girls timidly started eating, but it must have been really good, because they soon started eating enthusiastically, which was a relief to me. After giving Molly and Clara a bath, I found that Lisa had already bought bedding for the kids. Since I had been using the car, Lisa had brought the bedding back on her own. That was quite a task. Lisa chuckled, but all I felt was gratitude. Molly and Clara refused to sleep with Lisa, so I ended up sleeping between the 2 of them. When I apologized to Lisa for the girls' behavior, she comforted me, saying, It's okay. It's too much to expect them to adjust so quickly. Right now, you're the only one who can support Molly and Clara emotionally, so don't worry about me and just do your best. Lisa laid out a mattress in the living room and slept there. During the night, Molly and Clara cried in their sleep, and I spent a painful night. After that, life with Molly and Clara went smoother than I expected. Lisa didn't mind when Molly and Clara gave her skeptical looks. She would scold them like a real mother when they were mischievous, and she would comfort them gently when they were crying. One thing I noticed after living together was that Amy had not been very affectionate towards the girls. Molly and Clara tried to do everything on their own. They would open the refrigerator on their own when they were hungry, munch on cheese, and even lay out and put away their own bedding. At first, I thought they were very independent, but their behavior seemed odd. Lisa also consulted with me, and we concluded that Amy may not have taken care of Molly and Clara very much. The clothes that were sent as Molly and Clara's belongings were shockingly few. Whenever Lisa would prepare a meal, they would ask, Will Lisa share the food with us too? They seemed puzzled by the concept of bathing daily at first, and it appeared that until then, they had been bathing only once every 2 days. What's more, these 5-year-old kids were taking baths on their own. The story of Amy going on a trip with her husband and the child born between them, only to encounter an accident, seemed strange from the get-go. Why weren't Molly and Clara taken along on the trip?
It was clear that the girls had been treated poorly, and I couldn't contain my anger. I can't forgive Amy and her husband. Once they had parental rights, they had a responsibility to make Molly and Clara happy. So why didn't they take care of them? I was trembling with rage, but both Amy and her husband were no longer alive to bear the brunt of it. With nowhere to direct my anger, I clenched my fists tightly, and Lisa spoke. Hayden, I understand your anger. I'm angry at Amy and the others for not properly raising such adorable children like Molly and Clara. But being consumed with anger at people who are no longer in this world isn't going to do any good. The greatest revenge on Amy and the others is to ensure that Molly and Clara find happiness living with us, don't you think? So let's shower them, and of course our son Tom, with lots of love. Don't be consumed by anger and hatred for the deceased. Lisa's calm and gentle words made me break down in tears. Despite regularly meeting them, I hated myself most for not noticing the treatment Molly and Clara had been receiving. Trying to blame myself, Lisa consoled me, saying, It's okay, Hayden. You're doing everything you can. To fulfill my own responsibility as a father, I dedicated myself to being a good father for Molly and Clara, and of course our son Tom. Initially, Molly and Clara were wary of Lisa, but gradually they warmed up to Lisa, who always spoke to them brightly and casually. Although they initially refused to even sleep together, nowadays, both Molly and Clara want to sleep next to Lisa. The two of them would fight, each saying, Lisa is mine. But Lisa would hug them both at the same time and say, No need to fight, darlings. I love you both. It's okay. Lisa's words, it's okay, were like magic. Always positive and bright, Lisa, who would reassure us with those words, was a blessing to me, Molly, and Clara. Time flew, and Molly and Clara became fifth graders. For Parents' Day, the theme was Halfway to Adulthood, which made Lisa and me nostalgic. We also had a halfway to adulthood ceremony when we turned 10, during our elementary school Parents' Day. I remember we made presentations about our feelings towards our parents and our treasures. At Molly and Clara's school, it seems that they're required to write an essay for their halfway to adulthood ceremony. The theme of the essay is family, and I was a little worried that Lisa might feel uncomfortable. If Molly and Clara focused on writing about Amy and her husband in their essay, it might hurt Lisa. I even shared my concerns with Lisa, but she just laughed it off, saying, Even if the essay was entirely about Amy and her husband, I wouldn't mind at all. For Molly and Clara, their life with them was a part of their happiness, right? Isn't it a good thing after all? With the twins, the trouble is deciding which parent will attend which day on Parent-Teacher Day. It's a sad story for me, but both Molly and Clara asked for Lisa to come. To make it fair, I had them decide who would get Lisa through rock, paper, scissors. Molly was the victor, and Clara was quite down about it, which made me rather sad. Is it so bad to have Dad come? Dad loves Clara very much. It's not that. Clara loves Dad too, but I wanted Lisa to hear me out. I worried that Clara might already be in her rebellious phase, but I understood why Clara wanted Lisa to listen when I heard the content of the essay she read on Parent-Teacher Day. Clara had written about Lisa in her essay. Clara mentioned her life with Amy and her husband in her essay as well. It seems that their life together wasn't a particularly happy one. Yet Clara wrote that she felt helpless when her mother passed away. When I came to pick them up, Clara was happy to live with me, but she was scared of living with Lisa, a stranger at the time. But then, Clara started talking about what Lisa had done for her, the time they took a bath together and played in the bubble bath for the first time. When she cried late at night because she was lonely, Lisa stroked her head until she fell asleep. When Clara fought with Molly, Lisa reassured both of them, saying she loved them both, which made Clara very happy. In her essay, Lisa was nothing less than a mother. I want to call Lisa Mom, but I'm still too embarrassed, so I haven't been able to call her that. I plan to call Lisa Mom for the first time. I couldn't help but cry when Clara concluded her essay reading like this. Some of the parents around me also seemed to be tearing up, and even the teacher was wiping away tears. After Parent-Teacher Day, Lisa, who was with Molly, also had red eyes and a red nose. When I asked her what happened, Lisa said Molly had also read a similar essay. Molly and Clara must have planned it. They held hands, nodded to each other, and then together said to Lisa, We love you, Mom," with bright smiles. Lisa hugged Molly and Clara, bursting into tears, and said with a trembling voice, "Mom loves Molly and Clara so much." Being a crybaby, I naturally bawled. Our family is living happily. At some point, the idea of getting revenge on Amy and her husband had disappeared. I just want to protect this lovely family of ours. All of this daily happiness is thanks to Lisa. When I told Lisa thank you, she smiled back and said, "No, thank you." I can't thank her enough.
I have my husband wrapped around my finger now. Ah, being beautiful is such a sin. What? That's a lie. You didn't notice until now? Well, he's mine now. Richard falls for this woman, and with that, everything we've built up until now comes crashing down. Is Richard really okay with this? More importantly, does he even understand what's going on? Everything goes dark before my eyes. My name is Taylor, a 45-year-old woman this year. Currently, I work as a yoga instructor in the suburbs of Tokyo. When people hear yoga instructor, they might imagine something glamorous, but that's usually only for young female instructors. To be honest, older instructors like myself in their 50s don't usually have that much popularity. That's why my life depends on my husband's income. My husband, Richard, is 48 years old, older than me. At 48, most people worry about the results of their health checkup and are fearful of being diagnosed with a metabolic syndrome. But Richard is different. He has a radiant complexion, full head of hair, and most importantly, a toned body that's free from a metabolic syndrome at the age of 48. He's my proud husband. When I show Richard's photo to my classmates at the yoga studio, most people are surprised and end up comparing him to their own husbands. That's why I always start with a sales pitch. Like, if you bring your husband to my yoga class, he'll transform into someone who looks like this. It's become a staple for me. Richard and I met through my work as a yoga instructor with him as my student. Outside of work, I'm a housewife who takes care of things while he's away. That's been my daily routine, and I thought it would continue like that until that woman showed up. Our daily lives changed completely because of her. It all started with a regular yoga trial course. One day, I recognized from somewhere was in the class. I wonder if I met her before. If she's a former student, it would be rude not to say hello. I thought to myself, struggling to remember where I had seen her before. But I just couldn't seem to remember, even though I thought I was good at remembering faces. I started feeling down, thinking maybe I'm getting old and can't remember people's faces anymore. But looking back now, maybe deep down, I didn't want to remember her. Because she was such a terrible woman. The answer came from her. During a break, the same woman came up to me and started talking. "Long time no see. Hey, do you remember me?" When I saw her grinning face, I finally remembered. This woman in front of me was my classmate, Alan. Alan and I grew up in the same neighborhood and played together since we were little. Alan, who was cute and adorable in both her appearance and behavior, was well known in our town, and people used to say this girl could become an idol in the future. It sounds like a parent's exaggeration, but she really was popular among people in our town at the time. And Alan's reputation was outstanding in another sense. She would take people's belongings without permission, from favorite erasers to umbrellas and dolls. It was just the beginning. As she grew older, stealing someone's boyfriend became an everyday occurrence. That's why she was highly regarded by men but greatly disliked by women. And to tell the truth, I was one of those who disliked Alan. Having known her since childhood and being close to her family, I was her primary victim of theft. And now she's right in front of me. Alan's family moved away when we were in junior high, and we lost touch after that. How on earth did she find out about me? Although I had a bad feeling inside, I kept my usual business smile on my face. Could it be Alan? Long time no see. Of course I remember you, I said with a forced smile. I moved to this town, and when I saw the poster for the yoga class, I thought I've seen that face before. But looks don't matter for a yoga instructor, huh? If someone like you can do it, then I might be able to do it too. This woman hasn't changed, even at this age. Listening to the words that came out of Alan's mouth, I quickly realized. And today, at the trial class, I decided not to mention my husband in my usual sales talk. It's no joke to have my life partner stolen at this age, and the woman who could do such a thing is Alan. It happened after the trial class that day. I was caught trying to leave quickly to avoid Alan and ended up having a late lunch with her. As soon as we sat down, Alan's endless boasting began under the guise of updating me on her life. Apparently, she had a hard time with many men hitting on her after moving and was even scouted by a certain idol agency. Alan kept talking forever, with stories that were hard to tell whether they were true or false, ignoring her lunch. As the conversation dragged on, it seemed she just wanted to show off her current life. Living on the top floor of a tower apartment isn't as great as it sounds. The elevator rides are long, and the people living on the lower floors are always making snide remarks. It's the worst, right? But what's even worse is my husband. He's a lawyer and makes good money, but his looks. He's the same age as me and a fat, out-of-shape guy. Well, thanks to him, I could be a stay-at-home wife. But being a stay-at-home wife is tough too. Oh, you wouldn't be able to handle that kind of life, would you? I mean, even at your age, you're still a yoga instructor. While saying it's the worst, her face was clearly soaked in a sense of superiority. Wasn't that husband of hers stolen from someone else too? Suppressing the urge to say that, I quietly played the listener. If I didn't react interestingly, Alan would get bored, or so I thought. Did you manage to get married? What? Really? What kind of person is your husband? Is he a plain, unattractive, out-of-shape guy like you? I could not help but get angry at Alan's words that seemed to mock me. I felt that my happy, precious days were being denied by her words. And above all, I wanted to see Alan's reaction when I showed her my husband. My husband is 48 years old this year, but he doesn't look it at all, right? He often gets mistaken as someone in their 20s by my students. He works for a foreign financial institution, and his earnings are, well, decent for that industry, I guess. Alan stared intently at the photo of my husband I showed her while saying this. As I looked at Alan's face, I felt both regret for having done it and a small sense of victory over Alan. But that feeling of victory was fleeting. Wow, I might like this guy. I had done it. Alan's words were a signal that she had found her prey. My sense of superiority over Alan disappeared immediately, leaving only regret. But it's okay. She doesn't know where I live or my contact information yet. If I leave without telling her anything, it'll be fine. Suppressing my rising anxiety, I continued to chat casually with Alan, pretending nothing was wrong. Of course, beneath our casual conversation was a battle between Alan trying to get more information about my husband and me trying to avoid it. I managed to end the conversation without giving Alan any information. I felt relieved that it worked out and went home that day, but Alan started coming to my yoga classes more often, trying to learn more. Each time I dodged Alan's questions and eventually started avoiding conversation with her altogether. Perhaps, sensing my attitude, one day Alan suddenly stopped coming to the yoga classes. I did it. That woman finally gave up. We may have been successful when we were younger, but now we're both middle-aged women in our 40s. There's no way things will go our way at this age. Serves her right. I grabbed a sense of victory this time and made a small victory pose. However, at that time, the real winner was not me, but Alan, because she had already gotten close to my husband, Richard. After that, my peaceful everyday life continued for a while. I sweated as a yoga instructor and devoted myself to housework as a good wife, supporting Richard at home. It was so peaceful that I completely forgot about Alan's recent visit. In retrospect, it must have been the calm before the storm. While I was spending my days in peace, I was slightly concerned about the change in Richard's attitude. Sorry, I don't need a lunchbox for a while. I'm going to have a lunch with a client. Or, sorry, I've been busy with work lately. I'll be home late, so eat dinner without me. Oh, I forgot. I'll eat dinner on the way home, so don't worry about my portion. He used to prioritize family over home and come home right away. But if it's work, there's nothing I can do. Richard's hard work might lead to a better treatment at work. As a wife who protects the home, all I can do is support Richard. Besides, at the same time, I started teaching a new evening course at the yoga studio, so I didn't have much time to think deeply about it. So I believed what Richard said. And at the time, I believed that both of us being busy with work was a good thing and didn't doubt it. In hindsight, I was really stupid. One day, after a busy stretch, Alan appeared at the yoga studio. During class, for some reason, she kept giving me a smug look. It was the face that I hated the most. Class ended, and as I was cleaning up alone, Alan came over. Mocking my defensive stance and with a confident smile, she said, "Your husband is such a wonderful man, isn't he? His gestures while eating are cool, and his dimples when he laughs are so cute. Oh, did you know he has a funny mole on his back, that guy?" So that's what it was. The reason this woman disappeared from my sight wasn't that she had given up on my husband Richard, but that she had already succeeded in getting close to him. The gestures while eating and the dimples when laughing mean they have shared meals together many times? Could it be that Richard not taking his lunchbox with him lately is because of that? But the bigger issue is the funny mole on his back. If I connect the fact that he showed her his back and that Richard has been coming home late recently smelling like soap, the answer is obvious. This woman has already slept with Richard many times. I shuddered. What are you suddenly saying? Besides, I don't remember introducing you to my husband, so why are you meeting Richard? Aren't you stupid? Even if you don't tell me, I can find out from the other students in the class. You are such a fool. I just asked those students for your address, staked it out for a few days, and I knew everything about your husband. After all, you have that photo of the husband you boast and show off. Now Richard is captivated by me. Being beautiful is like a sin. No, that can't be. Didn't you notice until now? I'm taking him. Richard will be taken by this woman. If that happens, everything I've built up until now will be gone. Is Richard really okay with that? Rather, does he even understand what's going on? My vision went dark. As I thought about the possibility of losing everything we had built together and Richard's feelings, Alan left, laughing at me, clutching my stomach in disbelief. I was left alone in the classroom. Calm down and ask Richard for confirmation. It could just be Alan's delusion. More than anything, I wanted to confirm Richard's true feelings. What will he do with everything we've built up so far? And above all, what do you think of me now? That day, when I confronted Richard after he returned home, he easily said, "Sorry, everything Alan said is true. I might have done something wrong to you, but you're the one who's bad. Your cooking is always tasteless, and you never compliment me when I come home from work. Besides, you always order me around, telling me to exercise and use this lotion. In contrast, Ellen is kind. Unlike you, she always tells me I'm cool and her cooking is delicious. It's so different from you. Wait a minute. The seasoning of the dishes and the exercise. It's all for you. And yet you talk like that. What about the promises we made about work? You said at the time. Richard interrupted me and yelled, "Shut up! It's all your fault. You're always bossing me around, telling me to do this and that. I don't need a woman like you anymore." We're married, aren't we? Let's just talk it out properly. I have my reasons for asking you to do various things. Ugh, you're so annoying. Enough already. Today I'm going to Alan's house. Alan is different from you. She's kind and doesn't boss me around. With that, Richard left the house. Left alone, I sighed. I never thought Richard felt that way. It's true that I've asked Richard for various things. But to Richard, did it seem like I was ordering him around? Still, it was all for Richard's sake. Everything I've done for Richard was denied by the very person I did it for. That being said, I think the way he said it was honestly too much. Blaming everything on me and insisting I'm not the one at fault. And finally, I'm going to Alan's place where she'll treat me kindly? What kind of elementary schooler is he? I can't believe this is coming from a man who's almost 50 years old. Is that Richard's true nature? I admit my words and actions were bad, but looking back at Richard's attitude just now, my love for him cooled off all at once. Rather, he's head over heels for Alan, and it seems like he doesn't care about me anymore. That's when I realized, if that's the case, I'll just hand Richard over to Alan completely. If I do that, I might be able to get back at Alan twice over for all the grudges I've held so far. Recalling Alan's face when she laughed at me, I made up my mind. Next time, it's my turn to laugh. I'll get back at that woman twice over. Alan just came to the yoga class the next day as well. Just like yesterday, she looked at me with a smug expression throughout the class. That smile won't last long. I reassured myself and calmed my emotions. When the class ended, Alan approached me just like yesterday. Today, I have a date with Richard. I don't know why, but he stayed at my house yesterday, and now we feel like a real married couple. Oh, I'm sorry. The real wife is right here. If you like Richard that much, go ahead. He doesn't seem to love me anymore, so I'll let you have him. Alan, who wanted to see my frustrated face, looked taken aback for a moment, but that was short-lived. Well, giving up so easily is quite the defeatist attitude. But of course, he's already captivated by me. Weren't you married too? Have you talked to your husband about this? Huh? I can handle that flabby guy. I'm currently setting him up for an affair, and I'll use that as a leverage to break up with him cleanly. How despicable. That's what I thought, taking whatever she wants and discarding it as soon as she's done with it. I feel so sorry for her husband. Well then, I'll really take Richard. Plain and dull women always lose, don't they? A woman like you can only look forward to a lonely old age all by yourself. With that declaration of victory, Alan left. Let her say what she wants. I had Richard write the divorce papers that day. Richard must have already heard about today's events from Alan. He signed the papers without asking any questions. And as I watched him, I thought about how anticlimactic the end of our once happy life together was. But I don't want any regrets. Before Richard and I changed our minds, we both signed the divorce papers and submitted them to the city office right away. Now I'm single. I rented a place nearby, and for a while I lived a comfortable life alone. That being said, I couldn't rely on just my yoga instructor income, so I had to dip into the savings little by little. However, while living alone without fear of the future, I was in touch with someone. All I had to do was wait for a reply. A few months later, Alan came to my yoga class, but this time she came after the class was over. As soon as she came out to me, Alan burst into tears and said, "What's wrong with that man? He was so cool at first, but as soon as we got married, he got fat and his skin got rough. Now he's just a regular chubby middle-aged man. And his salary is low too. I had high hopes because he worked for a famous foreign financial firm. What's going on?" I had been waiting for this. With a smirk in my heart, I pretended to console Alan and told her, "Don't worry. Listen, the reason he was slim and smooth-skinned until now was all because of my meal management and exercise guidance. But since he left me and you spoiled him, he just returned to his true self. That's the real Richard. And while it's true that he worked for a foreign financial institution, it was actually a subsidiary of a related company. I just exaggerated that part. Yes, even before we got married, I have been paying attention to Richard's diet, and I made him a very well-balanced lunchbox every day. Of course, I also made him eat dinner at home, so I was able to manage all of Richard's meals. I also made him exercise and use men's skincare products like lotion for his skin. That's how he was able to maintain his youthful appearance, which was hard to believe he was in his 40s. But that all disappeared when we divorced, and his new wife, Alan, just spoiled Richard. I'm sure she didn't consider nutrition when cooking and didn't make him exercise either. It's only natural that he would return to his old self with that kind of lifestyle. What? So that man was only put together thanks to you? What's that? Don't worry, with your love, he can become a wonderful man again. But I don't really care. No way, I don't need an old man like that. You take him back. I was truly amazed at this woman's nerve treating people like objects. But of course, I had no intention of going back to how things were. Sorry, I've already found my new partner. Here's what he looks like. I showed Alan a picture of my new partner. The man on my smartphone was a tall, gentle-looking guy wearing a lawyer's badge. Wow, what a great guy. Hey, I'm more suited for him than you. Let's trade husbands, okay? Now it was my turn to burst out laughing. Why don't you ask him yourself? Please marry me. Please go back to how you were, because this man is your ex-husband. No way. How did that chubby man become such a great guy? You're lying. And I can't forgive you for being with him. She still said things like that. I was dumbfounded. I wasn't lying at all. After I divorced Richard and started living alone, the person I kept in touch with was none other than him. Of course, I was in contact with him to take revenge on Alan. First, I dramatically changed his appearance through my diet management and exercise guidance. This was, of course, to later make Alan feel regretful. However, this revenge was only the first stage. The second stage was yet to come. Did you forget that your ex-husband is a lawyer? I already told him that you fabricated his affair. I think a compensation claim from him will arrive at your place soon. What? That's a lie. Oh, and from me too. I filed a claim for consolation money for having an affair with my husband. Of course, I have the strongest lawyer, your ex-husband, on my side. I could hear Alan's small scream, but it was too late. Oops, I almost forgot. Richard got his current job back thanks to a connection at my yoga studio. I told that person about what happened, and they were very disappointed. Who knows what will happen to Richard's treatment now? Alan seemed to be at loss for words. I left Alan standing there and elegantly exited the classroom. Serves you right. She had taken so much from me, even stealing my husband this time. This was a deserved punishment. After a while, Alan had to pay a large sum of compensation due to our lawsuit. She sold the luxury tower apartment she had won in her divorce, and now apparently lives in a cheap apartment with Richard. As I predicted, Richard's salary decreased even more after being demoted, and Alan had to find a part-time job. Some of my yoga students work at her part-time job, so I naturally talk about Alan there. Everyone says, "What a horrible woman." Teacher, you went through so much. We'll make sure she gets what she deserves. I wonder what kind of guidance we should give her. I'm looking forward to it. They say various encouraging things. As for me, I happily remarried Alan's ex-husband. Thanks to my dedicated diet management and exercise guidance, he has transformed dramatically from his previous overweight figure to being featured in magazines. Due to the effects, he now has an increased number of legal requests and is struggling to keep up, but he is so happy about it. Unlike Richard, he listens to my various advice and appreciates it. That's why I'm even more motivated to cook for him every day. Oh, and that tower apartment Alan gave up is now where we live. From the window of the tower apartment, Alan's apartment seems so small that it makes me laugh. My revenge is now over. From now on, I plan to live a peaceful and happy life with him.
Please be quiet. This is a hospital room. Shut up. You must come no matter what. It's your brother's wedding day. If you don't come, you're not family. Who's being noisy now? I pressed the nurse call button, knowing her words would disturb other patients in the room. My name is Abby, and I am a 32-year-old office worker. Since I was young, I've focused solely on studying. In turn, I never experienced romance. It was the same throughout high school and college. I loved studying and devoted myself to academics. As a working adult, my focus shifted from studying to work, immersing myself in my job every day. During this time, I turned down several men who approached me because I wanted to prioritize my job. Eventually, men stopped asking me out. I didn't really care about it, but my sister scolded me for being in my 30s and never having a romantic relationship, so she forcibly set up a dinner date for me with a man. That's when I met Ryan. Ryan was a junior coworker at my sister's office, and he was someone she looked up to. This wasn't because he was good at his job, but because he was very honest, had a great personality, and was friendly, so everyone adored him. He was also known for his excellent cooking skills and made delicious meals quickly and easily during house parties with coworkers. My sister thought he would be perfect for me, a workaholic who neglected household chores, so she introduced us. When I actually met him, I understood what my sister meant. There was something about him that made me feel at ease. Surprisingly, he fell in love with me at first sight. I wondered why he was interested in someone like me, but he thought I was a cool and attractive woman and wanted to get to know me better. I am quite tall for a woman at 170 centimeters, and I always think about work, so people around me think that I am cool and shy. However, this can impact me negatively, as men seem to have high expectations of me. It can make me seem unattainable, as I heard from a female coworker. Seeing my blushing face from Ryan's confident approach, my sister smirked and said, "You two should meet again, just the two of you." She then encouraged us to exchange contact information. After that, we went on several dates and started our relationship. In just 6 months, we got married. Ryan was really good at household chores, from cooking to cleaning. I was terrible at anything other than work, and when I was living alone, my sister was amazed at how messy my place could get in just a few days. Ryan helped with the parts I wasn't good at, and we built a well-balanced relationship. However, not everything was going smoothly. It seemed that marriage wasn't just about the couple. Problems came from outside the relationship as well. For us, it was my mother-in-law. She was the type to dote on her son, always clinging to Ryan. Ryan had a hard time because of this, as he was not allowed to live alone and wanted to get married and move out as soon as possible. I mean, Abby, why are you dressed so shabbily? Huh? I always dress like this at home. You should dress nicely. It's embarrassing for Ryan's wife to look like that. Among other things. What? Why is Ryan in the kitchen? Because I'm better at cooking. That's not acceptable. Why is the husband cooking? The wife should be the one doing it. It's fine, Mom. I enjoy doing it. My husband would always step in to calm her down, but my mother-in-law felt like I had taken her precious son away from her, so she targeted me. In the midst of all of this, we received news that my brother-in-law was getting married. Of course, we planned to attend the wedding, but unfortunately, I got sick 3 days before the ceremony and had to be hospitalized. My husband and I discussed it, and since the hospital said I needed to stay for about 5 days, it seemed like I wouldn't be able to attend the wedding. There's nothing we can do about it. He said he would let his family know. The cause of my hospitalization was a gastric ulcer, and at first the pain in my stomach was unbearable. But after 2 days, the pain had lessened, and with nothing else to do, I asked my husband to bring my laptop and ended up working. My doctor had told me to rest, but I thought that some light work would be fine, even though I knew it wasn't the best idea. Suddenly, the door to my hospital room rattled open. I thought my husband had come to visit, but it was actually my mother-in-law. "Oh, hi, mother-in-law. What brings you here all of a sudden?" "I came to tell you the time of the wedding." "Huh?" I didn't understand. My husband should have informed her that I wouldn't be able to attend the ceremony. "Didn't Ryan tell you that I can't attend because I'm in the hospital?" "He did, so what? Huh? A gastric ulcer isn't a big deal. Get better by tomorrow's wedding." If it were something I could heal with simple determination, I wouldn't be in the hospital. I'm still in pain, and I'm not allowed to leave the hospital. "I don't care. It's unacceptable not to attend a family wedding." "Please keep your voice down. This is a hospital room." "Quiet. You must come no matter what. My precious son's wedding." Good grief, who's the loud one here? "As much as I'd like to, I can't go in my current condition." "You're working, aren't you? Stop lying." "Well, I had a bit of a break, so..." "See, you can come, can't you?" "No, I can't, as I said, anyway. If you don't attend a family wedding, you're not family. If you refuse to come to the wedding, divorce Ryan." "What?" "It's only fair. Choose between getting a divorce or attending my son's wedding." "What? What kind of nonsense are you talking about?" I pressed the nurse call button because I didn't want to bother the other patients in the room. A nurse came quickly and took my mother-in-law outside. Seriously, what is she even talking about? Later, I received a message saying the wedding ceremony had gone well, and I was discharged from the hospital without any issues. When I got home, my husband and mother-in-law were waiting for me. The thing is, I hadn't told my husband about the exchange I had with my mother-in-law in the hospital room because I didn't want to worry him. And I guess my mother-in-law didn't tell him either. My husband warmly welcomed me. "I'll make you anything you want today." But then my mother-in-law said, "Sit down, both of you. We need to talk." She made us sit down. My husband looked at his mother, not knowing what was going on. "You didn't come to the wedding ceremony after all. As promised, please divorce Ryan." She placed the divorce papers on the table. "What? Divorce? Why is this even a discussion?" "I'm sorry for keeping quiet. I didn't want to worry you before the wedding ceremony." I explained what had happened in the hospital room. "Are you serious?" He looked at his mother in disbelief. "I've never liked you. I'll be relieved once we cut ties with you. Hurry up and sign the divorce papers." I got angry and decided to fight back. "Fine, I'll sign." "What, Abby, what?" I signed the divorce papers and presented them to my husband. "Ryan, please choose. Either divorce me or cut ties with your mother." "What?" My mother-in-law laughed at my statement. "What are you talking about? Ryan is my son. He's going to choose me first, of course." I ignored my mother-in-law's remark and stared at my husband. Then my husband said, "I'd rather cut ties with my mother than divorce Abby." At this, my mother-in-law panicked. "Why, Ryan?" "I'm sick of your interference, Mom. You have no right to decide my divorce." What? My mother-in-law then lunged at me. How did you get to him?" "Excuse me?" "Why would Ryan choose someone like you who doesn't even do housework and just lives off him? You must be deceiving my son." We were dumbfounded by my mother-in-law's words. "Mom, actually, I'm the one being supported here." "What?" In fact, my husband had quit his job when we got married because he liked doing housework, and I had a really good income. Because I was a workaholic, I worked for a major company and was promoted at an unprecedented speed, becoming a section chief at my age. So my salary alone was more than enough to cover our living expenses. What about the money you send me? That. I've been managing our household budget, and I've been sending you the money we saved, but that's going to end now since I'm cutting ties with you. What? Then the mother-in-law changed her attitude, as if turning over a new leaf, and prostrated herself before me. I'm sorry. Please don't cut ties with me. She apologized to me many times, but it was already too late. After all the bullying you've done until now, there's no way we can forgive you. Exactly. If you understand, just leave. No way. And so we completely cut ties with my mother-in-law. By the way, it seems she did the same thing to her other sons and was shunned and cut off by them too. It's really either a lack of learning ability or just baffling. My father-in-law passed away a few years ago, so she seems to be living all alone in their big family house now. After that, we bought a new house and moved so that we wouldn't be attacked by my mother-in-law. Currently, we are living comfortably in our new house, enjoying our days as a happily married couple. Thank you for watching until the end. If you liked it, please subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.